What's up, guys? Welcome back to King Kraken Sports. Mike here. Apologies for my physical absence the past couple of days. I've been under the weather with a little bit of a sinus infection. So when I was trying to record the other day, there was a lot of sniffling and throat clearing, which was just not conducive to a great video. But on the same hand, trying to put together those videos in iMovie the past couple of days has been an absolute nightmare logistically in terms of having to, and it's not at all efficient. So you're just going to have to put up with some sniffling on my end, the occasional throat clearing, and we'll just get through this. I apologize. But let's talk about the NFC South. The draft where it was a very, well, 3 teams got it. 1 team did not. Let's get into this. Well, I mean, Tampa for years has been kind of a mixed bag in terms of good and bad drafts. Jason Light definitely entering the offseason on the hot seat. I was a little surprised he kept his job, given that Tampa really hasn't gone anywhere in his entire time being there. They started off hot. They fizzled down the stretch. They ended up being one of the worst teams in football. Had one of the worst defenses of all time. Now with Todd Bowles running that defense, this draft had Todd Bowles' fingerprints all over it. Starting with their first pick, number 5 overall, Devin White falls to them because Oakland took Clelin Ferrell. This is an A+. He's better than Quan Alexander, and he's going to fill that role that Quan Alexander did. He's going to do it much better than Quan Alexander ever could. This is an A+, easy pick. Round 2, Sean Bunting out of Central Michigan was the pick. I'm hit or miss on this pick. I like it, but again, as I've said several times with other picks for other divisions, Greedy Williams was still there. Sean Bunting is a poor man's Greedy Williams. Now, I like Sean Bunting, and it took me a viewing or two of his tape to realize that he's actually pretty good, and he's actually pretty fast, but I can't get over the fact that they passed over Greedy Williams. I think if they had gone Greedy, this would have been an A+. Bunting was 50th on my board. They took him at 39. I gave it an A. Definitely fit in need. Tampa's had horrible corner play for years and years and years. This helps them get in the right direction, although I probably would have just gone Greedy is my only gripe. I have a lot of gripes with this third pick, with it being Jamel Dean, the corner out of Auburn, at 94. I hated this pick. I hated this pick for one reason. Jamel Dean can't stay healthy. Hurt guys stay hurt. That's just the way it is. If you're hurt in college, you're going to probably stay hurt in the NFL. Look at Leonard Fournette as an example. I had Jamel Dean at 262 on my board. And remember, I graded 270 players. This is a camp body grade for me. Not just UDFA. This is camp invite. You got him in round 3. I gave this a D-, and oh my god, I wanted to give this an F so bad, but they desperately needed corners. Bad pick. Really do not like this. They redeemed it a little bit, coming back at 99. Mike Edwards, the safety out of Kentucky. Again, Deontay Thompson still on the board. As I mentioned in one of my videos the other day, that Deontay Thompson fell to the Cardinals due to not only his wrist injury, but there was apparently degenerative knee injury that was found in medical rechecks, so I get why he wasn't picked at the time, but yeah, I liked Mike Edwards. I think it might have been about a round too early. I had him at 121. Like the value, like the fit, I gave it a B+. I think that they did need someone to go beside Justin Evans and play safety there. This is a solid pick. I really like the next pick, what they started with day 4, Anthony Nelson, the edge rusher out of Iowa. I think he's kind of that versatile, kind of can play 4-3 defensive end, 3-4 defensive end, and possibly 3-4 outside linebacker. 6'7", 280, just a nice solid power rusher. Kind of got overshadowed by his teammate AJ Epineza, who is a top prospect in my eyes for next year. Definitely think that this is going to be an instant impact, day 1 starter for them, and they got him in round 4. I had him at 128. I love the fit. I think that Todd Bowles is going to be able to unlock a lot of potential from him. I gave this an A. Well, I guess Utah is kicker university now because Matt Gay was the pick at 145. I don't watch kickers, but I know Tampa has needed a kicker for roughly 5 years now. And unlike the last time they drafted a kicker, they didn't trade up in the second round for Ricky Aguayo. Or Roberto Aguayo. And Aguayo. It doesn't matter. This was a much better selection, waiting to like round 5 to get your kicker. I'm still not overly fond of drafting kickers because kickers are honestly a bit dime a dozen and not worth draft picks. I gave this an A because even though I didn't scout him, they have desperately needed a kicker for a long time. Scott Miller, the wide receiver, I believe out of Bowling Green, was their only offensive draft pick. They got him at 208. I had never heard of this kid, so he gets the default C. It'll either work or it won't. And you know what? It doesn't really matter because he's like a 6th round pick. Then finishing it off at 215, they get Terry Beckner Jr., the former 5-star recruit out of the University of Missouri. I had him at 105. Now, Beckner never really reached his full potential while at Missouri. Todd Bowles likes guys that haven't really reached their full potential by entering the draft. He's going to get a lot out of that kid. I like the value. I had him at 105. This is really good value. I gave it an A+. Overall, I really liked Tampa's draft. I gave them an A-. I think again, their weakness was really their defense. Yes, their offense is kind of meh, too. I would have liked to see them take a running back or a wide receiver earlier in the draft as well, maybe in place of taking Jamel Dean. But at the same time, I guess you trust Bruce Arians to fix that offense, which I certainly would, so I can see why Jason Light would. That defense was a massive problem area, and it looks like they're starting to take the right steps. Atlanta's the draft I really didn't like. I want to like Thomas Dimitrov's drafts because he's Canadian and I'm Canadian. But I mean, this one I really just can't. Let's dive into this. Chris Lindstrom at 14. I had a feeling Lindstrom was going to go in round 1, and I was okay with round 1 talk, like that 25 to 35 range. Like that's more or less what I expected. I was not expecting 14. I thought that if they were going to go offensive line at 14 and go guard, then it was going to be Cody Ford. And I just don't know what to make of this, to be honest with you. He's a good player. 14's too early. They could have maybe tried to trade back. I don't know if they tried. But it just kind of seems too early. It fixes a hole. I gave it a B-. I had him at 49. This is a little too rich for my blood. And then I don't even know what the fuck to make out of their second pick. Caleb McGarry at 31. Listen, I know a lot of people thought that Caleb McGarry was like a round 2, round 3 type player. I was even lower than that. I had him at 154 on my board. Like, that is not a good value in my eyes. So yeah, 154 overall just for shits and gigs. That's a round 5 grade. I get the offensive tackle run had started, but you could have waited till the second round at least, and I probably would have been a little bit more forgiving. I gave it a D+. It fits a need. Their right side of the line was trash last year. If they had waited till round 2, I probably would have given it a C. I just think it was way too far of a reach. Kendall Sheffield was their next pick. They were off for 80 picks. They came back in round 4, got Kendall Sheffield. He was injured while preparing for the combine. Probably would have been one of the faster guys in Indy had he have been able to go and be fully healthy. I had him at 148. I gave it a B. It's a need because they got rid of Robert Alford, but like, I just don't know really because hurt guys stay hurt. This is like, again, like I really did not like their draft. John Kaminsky and Kadri Olison, I didn't watch either of them, so they get the default C. Jordan Miller was probably my favorite pick that they made, and that was at 172. I had him at 189. He's a nice, solid inside-outside corner. And with Desmond Trufant getting older, and them not really having much else, at the position, I liked it. I like this pick probably slightly better than I like the Kendall Sheffield pick, just because of the lack of injury concerns like Sheffield has. And Sheffield really wasn't productive either. Jordan Miller at least was. Miller was taken at 172. I had him at 189. I gave this an A. This was their best pick. And then I don't know who Marcus Green is, so he gets the default C. I gave Atlanta a C+. And really, it was Lindstrom, Sheffield, and Miller that saved their draft from being really, really bad. And it's already not great. Speaking of inconsistent, Carolina, sometimes good, sometimes bad. This year, pretty good. Let's get into it. At 16, Brian Burns falls into their lap. I thought that this was probably going to be maybe Cody Ford. Maybe this was going to be Andre Dillard, whatever the case may be. No, they desperately needed pass rush as well. Charles Johnson's getting old, and Julius Peppers is gone and was also like 38 years old last year. Desperately needed someone to go and rush the passer. Burns was my 9th rated player. They got him at 16. This is a knockdown, 3 from half court. This is an A+. Then Marty Herney goes and disappoints me in round 2 because I don't know why you felt the need to trade up for Greg Little. I get it. He's more athlete than tackle, but much like I said with the Texans and Deshaun Watson versus Cam and the Panthers, neither team really has a great offensive line. Their offensive tackles have always been trash, and these quarterbacks are running for their fucking lives. And they both went out and got offensive tackles that aren't ready to start day one. And they picked them early. Greg Little was sold as being an athlete, and then the combine came and we found out he wasn't even that. He had a vertical leap that was so low it almost didn't register. He's not fast. He's not very agile. His tape sucked. I just didn't really see it with him. I was betting on potential, and that's the only thing that kept him in my top 100. He was 85th on my board. They traded up to 37 to get him. I did not like this pick. I gave this a C-. It's a need. Maybe he'll have, he'll be able to put it together at the pros. But man, he was bad at Ole Miss last year. Here's a pick I did like. Will Grier at 100. Will Grier was low-key one of my favorite quarterbacks this year. Yes, I talked a lot this year about Kyler, Haskins, Daniel Jones, Drew Lock. It wasn't until really pro day circuit that Will Grier stopped being my number 2 quarterback. He was my number 3 quarterback pretty much the entire year. He was either 2 or 3 the entire fucking year. And they got him at 100. I love this pick. He was 34th on my board. This is an A+. I think that if Cam gets hurt, and he's gotten hurt the last couple of years, they need someone better than a Taylor Heineke to take snaps, or the corpse of Derek Anderson. Will Grier's pretty much ready to go. At 115, Christian Miller. This guy just couldn't stay healthy at Alabama. He was hurt all the goddamn time. He was 68th on my board. If he was healthy, he might have actually been a round 1 player if he was actually able to stay healthy on the field and stay consistent. I gave this an A. He's a seamless fit in this defense. Jordan Scarlett, they needed backup running backs to help Christian McCaffrey. They really haven't had much. They got him at 154. I had him at 168. I like the player. I think he's, again, a lot of untapped potential. Not receiving a lot of coaching at Florida. Obviously was suspended for a year as well. They'll have to get him in the right system. I think that this is the right locker room to get him into. This is an A-. I liked their pick at 222 a lot better than I liked the Greg Little pick because they went offensive tackle out of South Carolina in Dennis Daly. I had him at 122 overall. So again, he was really close to Greg Little, only separated by about a round or so about a tier difference. And they got him about 5 rounds later, 4 or 5 rounds later. This is great value. This is an A. And then Terry Godwin, the receiver out of Georgia. Man, Georgia had a lot of guys go on the offensive side of the ball this year. He was actually one of the Georgia guys I didn't get to scout this year. So he's a C. Overall, love this draft. This is an A. Good draft by Carolina. Now, how about this? New Orleans only having 5 picks in the entire draft. So this is going to be a very quick section. Eric McCoy at 48. I had him at 51 overall. He is your Max Unger replacement. Max Unger retires. They trade up to get Eric McCoy. This was a no-brainer. This is an A+, day one starter. Let's move on. Chauncey Gardner-Johnson at 105. No idea why he was still there. Reports are he rubbed some teams the wrong way in his interviews. Maybe some immaturity. I don't know what it was with Florida guys this year being labeled as immature. Don't know. But yeah, he was 40th overall on my board. They took him at 105. This is a pick where it's not just an A+. Like, I could add several pluses. This was a very good pick. Saquon Hampton, they get another safety to put beside him. I guess for like 3 safety sets because they do still have Von Bell. He's going to be more of a special teamer as well. I didn't quite finish my evaluation on Saquon Hampton, which is why, even though he's not on my board, this gets a B-. I had seen a little bit of him, and I liked him. I just didn't see the full 3 games minimum that I needed to. Gave it a B-. Alize Mack, the tight end out of Notre Dame, they got him at 231. I had him at 212. A nice solid depth piece again. Can work on special teams. Gave this an A. And then Caden Ellis, the pass rusher out of Idaho, didn't know who he was. Got him at 244. Default C. This was an A grade.